you are going to watch what is online education and discuss, do you like to study the online courses? Why and why not? So after watching this, you can have a small talk with your group members. Small talk means you can talk to others.
Like many of you, I'm one of the lucky people. I was born to a family where education was pervasive. I'm a third-generation PhD, a daughter of two academics. In my childhood, I played around in my father's university lab. So it was taken for granted that I attend some of the best universities, which in turn opened the door to a world of opportunity. Unfortunately, most of the people in the world are not so lucky. In some parts of the world, for example, South Africa, education is just not readily accessible. In South Africa, the educational system was constructed in the days of apartheid for the white minority. And as a consequence, today there's just not enough spots for the many more people who want and deserve a high-quality education. That scarcity led to a crisis in January of this year at the University of Johannesburg. There were a handful of positions left open from the standard admissions process, and the night before they were supposed to open that for registration, thousands of people lined up outside the gate, in a line a mile long, hoping to be first in line to get one of those positions. When the gates opened, there was a stampede, and 20 people were injured, and one woman died. She was a mother who gave her life trying to get her son a chance at a better life. But even in parts of the world, like the United States, where education is available, it might not be within reach. There's been much discussed in the last few years about the rising costs of healthcare. What might not be quite as obvious to people is that during that same period, the costs of higher education tuition have been increasing at almost twice the rate, for a total of 559% since 1985. This makes education unaffordable for many people. Finally, even for those who do manage to get a higher education, the doors of opportunity might not open. Only a little over half of recent college graduates in the United States who get a higher education actually are working in jobs that require that education. This, of course, is not true for the students who graduate from the top institutions, but for many others, they do not get the value for their time and their effort. Tom Friedman, in his recent New York Times article, captured in a way that no one else could the spirit behind our effort. He said, the big breakthroughs are what happens when what is suddenly possible meets what is desperately necessary. I've talked about what's desperately necessary. Let's talk about what's suddenly possible. What's suddenly possible was demonstrated by 3 big Stanford classes, each of which had an enrollment of 100,000 people or more. So to understand this, let's look at one of those classes, the machine learning class offered by my colleague and co-founder Andrew Ng. Andrew teaches one of the bigger Stanford classes. It's a machine learning class, and it has 400 people enrolled every time it's offered. When Andrew taught the machine learning class to the general public, it had 100,000 people registered. So to put that number in perspective, for Andrew to reach that same size audience by teaching a Stanford class, he would have to do that for 250 years. Of course, he'd get really bored. So, having seen the impact of this, Andrew and I decided that we needed to really try and scale this up to bring the best quality education to as many people as we could. So we formed Coursera, whose goal is to take the best courses from the best instructors at the best universities and provide it to everyone around the world for free. We currently have 43 courses on the platform from 4 universities across a range of disciplines, and let me show you a little bit of an overview of what that looks like.
Welcome to Calculus. 50 million people are uninsured. Help us design more effective institutions and policies.
We get unbelievable segregation.
So Bush imagined that in the future, you'd wear a camera right in the center of your head.
Mills wants the student of sociology to develop the quality of mind. Hanging cable takes on the form of a hyperbolic cosine.
For each pixel in the image, set the
vaccine allowed us to eliminate poliovirus.
There's a Lufthansa serve breakfast and San Jose. Well, that sounds funny.
So this is which coin you pick. And this is the two boxes.
So in large-scale machine learning, we'd like to come up with computational...
It turns out, maybe not surprisingly, that students like getting the best content from the best universities for free. Since we opened the website in February, we now have 640,000 students from 190 countries. We have 1.5 million enrollments, 6 million quizzes in the 15 classes that have launched so far have been submitted, and 14 million videos have been viewed. But it's not just about the numbers, it's also about the people. Whether it's Akash, who comes from a small town in India and would never have access, in this case, to a Stanford quality course and would never be able to afford it. Or Jenny, who is a single mother of two and wants to hone her skills so that she can go back and complete her master's degree. Or Ryan, who can't go to school because his immune deficient daughter can't be risked to have germs come into the house, so he couldn't leave the house. I'm really glad to say, recently we've been in correspondence with Ryan, that this story had a happy ending. Baby Shannon, you can see her on the left, is doing much better now, and Ryan got a job by taking some of our courses. So what made these courses so different? After all, online course content has been available for a while. What made it different is that this was a real course experience. It started on a given day, and then the students would watch videos on a weekly basis and do homework assignments. And these would be real homework assignments for a real grade, with a real deadline. You can see the deadlines in the usage graph. These are the spikes, showing that procrastination is a global phenomenon. At the end of the course, the students got a certificate. They could present that certificate to a prospective employer and get a better job, and we know many students who did. Some students took their certificate and presented this to an educational institution at which they were enrolled for actual college credit. So these students were really getting something meaningful for their investment of time and effort. Let's talk a little bit about some of the components that go into these courses. The first component is that when you move away from the constraints of a physical classroom and design content explicitly for an online format, you can break away from, for example, the monolithic one-hour lecture. You can break up the material, for example, into these short modular units of 8 to 12 minutes, each of which represents a coherent concept. Students can traverse this material in different ways depending on their background, their skills, or their interests. So for example, some students might benefit from a little bit of preparatory material that other students might already have. Other students might be interested in a particular enrichment topic that they want to pursue individually. So this format allows us to break away from the one-size-fits-all model of education and allow students to follow a much more personalized curriculum. Of course, we all know as educators that students don't learn by sitting and passively watching videos. Perhaps one of the biggest components of this effort is that we need to have students practice with the material and really in order to really understand it. There's been a range of studies that demonstrate the importance of this. This one that appeared in Science Lab.
Let's stop for a while. So, until now, what do you feel? Can you catch some sentences from her talk? Anyone? Do you like to share? Do you like to share what she has from her speech? Can you catch some sentences from her speech? Can you? Yes, quickly.
I think something in the world, some about people maybe have not too many thoughts to go to college, and online open course can give a very convenient method to let them that people can go to the higher education.
Education?
Education.
Yes.
Yes, yes. Oh my God.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. Excellent. He said his feeling is the speaker, she is one of the founder for the Coursera. She said for some people, for example, who live in South Africa, they cannot afford to have the resources from the higher education, not mentioned to the Harvard, Stanford. They cannot get enough education resources, so they cannot get a better job. So she said, oh, there are so many courses provided by the top universities in the United States. They provide a lot of courses for free to everyone who can use the internet. So she explained, she shared some experience, some students, some real stories from I believe three students from different countries, and then she's moved by those stories. So anyone want to share one more? Then after your response, then we will continue to finish this video. Who want to share? What do you see? What do you see? No more? Who want to share? Okay, please.
I think the course can broken the time and space limit. And if we want to learn a lot of things, we don't have to very rich. We don't have a lot of money.
We don't need to have a lot of money.
Have a lot of money.
Yes, we don't need to provide.
Yes, I know online video like Coursera is Kehan. It's for free.
Yes, there are
A lot of resources.
books. There are a lot of books. Free education, free online courses, free videos. Yes, for education purpose.
So I think this the central is very basic. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, excellent. Excellent. It is very good. So I think your name, please. Jiaxin. Okay, Jiaxin, she mentioned we can study by ourselves through the internet. We do not need to stay in the United States. We can learn from the teachers, the professors in the United States. We can learn the best education from the best schools. That is what she mentioned. Okay, let's continue.